So, listen, let me level with y'all. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend making a video for this doll wasn't like a total impulse decision I had one night. I wanted to make YouTube content for my crochet work pretty much since I started crocheting, but I never actually had the balls to just pick up the camera and record my process. I always thought I had to do some big introductory video where I blow everything out of the water as my skills, or I have to write off some trend, or sell my soul to Satan himself for YouTube views. But I realized if I wait for that, I'll never actually make my first video. It's just too much pressure. So instead, I will simply make a video for my friend who I'm a lot of bit gay for, and that will simply be enough to motivate me. Isn't homoerotic tension with the bestie all you need at the end of the day? Hey y'all, my name is Biscuit and welcome to my new channel, Binky and Biscuit. This is my first video on this channel, so yeah, woohoo, yippee, yippee! I haven't edited a video like this before, so I guess you could see this video as a pilot for things to come. I do have a lot of video ideas and plans for this channel that I'd like to try, but I think I want to do something a bit laid back to start. See, on this channel, you could probably expect a lot of crochet doll videos. That's my specialty, I like to believe. Making custom dolls has always been a passion of mine, and what better way to start than with a project I was going to make anyway? Genius! So let me set the stage for you. It's 2024 and I have a very close group of friends who live out of state. They go by Lyra and Kat. We decided to meet up in New York for my 21st birthday, and they both had spent so much money in plane fees to make this happen. So obviously I had to make it worth their time to come here, right? Of course, so I'm making dolls of their characters. They're both artists, so figured this is the least I could do. After finishing the doll for Kat is when I had the idea to do the video for this, so sadly I don't have footage of me working on it. But here's a picture of her character Saya as a doll anyway. But for now, this video is focusing on the doll I'm making for my girlie Lyra. Listen, queer romance is more marketable nowadays anyway, so surely you all understand. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video so you can see her reaction to the doll. Anyway, that's enough stalling. Let's get right into it. This project is going to be a little bit tricky because I want to make a doll of her character Evelyn, but Evelyn doesn't have a consistent design like ever, and every iteration of her is different in some way. But there's always a few key features to her design, like the manta ray hood and the swooshy brown hair on her sides. So I did some concept art to give myself a better idea of what I'm doing. I kept it all very sketchy, so if I need to change the design, I can. Usually she wears pajamas, but in the end, I tried to go for a more princess-like design. I had some purple lace laying around my craft stock, and I figured this would be a perfect project to use it on. Rather use it than have it go to waste. Also, I added a turtle sticker to the concept art, you know, just for fun. What's a project without being a little silly here and there? With that, I have my base design down and I'm ready to start crocheting. For this project, I will be mainly using my favorite yarn, which is Basic Stitch and Skein Tones by Lion's Brand. They're both a 4-weight, 100% acrylic yarn I just really love working with. There will be some other yarns mixed in here and there, but I'll go through what I'm using as I'm making the doll. Generally, here's what the palette is looking like. If you want more information on what yarns I'm using, I will have a page in the description describing it more. To start little Miss Evelyn, I make her little feet nubs. This doll will have boots, so she really only needs something down there to anchor her in place. I also take this time to set in the pipe cleaner bones so she can be semi-posable later on. The bottom of the pipe cleaner is also sticking out just to further anchor the doll into the shoe. I continue up the leg until I reach the 20th row of stitches, where I change the color to where her shorts will be. At this point, I stuff the leg and pull a second leg from the void off screen. Luckily, the second leg has the yarn still attached to it, which makes the next step possible. I begin the process of attaching the legs at the crotch and building up the body. I do this by chaining 4 off of one leg, crocheting around the opposite leg, chaining another 4, and then connecting the legs. From there, I kept going up. I made the shorts high-waisted so I'd have more leeway later on when I make her bottoms. Her torso will be covered entirely, so I don't mind if it looks a little bit dorky right now. I sew the gap closed between her legs and keep going with the color change back to her skin tone. I'm sure to keep in mind the thickness of the pipe cleaner base inside her as I go along and stuff the body. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure why her body came out so skinny. You'll see me struggling with it in the footage, but maybe I dropped the stitch somewhere? Either way, I didn't really mind and pushed through anyway, because I knew the clothing would be bulky on this doll anyway. You won't see it in the end, so it's our little secret. Lyra designed Evelyn to be based off herself, so Evelyn having a skinny figure fits her character anyway. Those are my excuses, and I'm rolling with them. When I made the armature bones for the arms, I ran out of pipe cleaners, hence why I went ahead and replaced it with some jewelry wire instead. I may use this technique on future projects because in the end, the arms are a lot more posable than my other dolls, so good to know. After building up the little hand nub things, I put in a wooden bead on the inside to help them keep their shape. Then I keep going to the forearm and shoulder. With a little bit of editing magic, the arms are attached to the body and armature. I added a wooden dowel in there too, so that it'll keep the head from wobbling around later on. Speaking of the head, that's what's next. This part of the doll is probably what takes the most time, on the base at least, because it's like 1/3 of the entire height. The dolls I make are very chibi inspired, therefore there really isn't much to say about it other than it being a basic sphere. So I'll take this opportunity to talk about something else. For most of my doll projects, I use a self-modified pattern originally by Peta Crochet. I think I'm saying that right. Their Etsy shop will be linked in the description and also on my Ravelry page. I can't really share the modifications I made, unfortunately, because this is a paid pattern. I'd feel really weird sharing a slightly edited version of their work without permission, so I do apologize if you want to make something like this yourself. This video is meant to be a log and entertainment more so than a tutorial, but I'm happy to explain certain things I do in more detail if you have any questions, so do leave a comment if you need that. Now that the head is done, we can actually get to the fun part of crochet doll making, actually decorating the doll. I begin with embroidering the face, since it's arguably the most important part of the doll. The face is the focal point of the project, so if it ends up looking weird in the end, it throws off the balance of the whole thing. Because of this, I really tend to take my time with this step, and allow myself to make mistakes if need be. It took a few tries to get some things right, and you'll see in the footage I ended up redoing the nose. I realized in the end some things looked off-center, and I think moving the nose helped realign things more. I know the mouth is technically off-center too, but something about the positioning of it just felt cute to me, so I decided to keep it. After I was happy with that, I started the hair. I usually do hair later, and I didn't do it the usual way I do my doll's hair because this girl will be wearing a hood. So mainly I'll just be making the parts of the hair that pop out, like in her design. The way I make her hair is a pattern I made from scratch, though I wouldn't say it's like super innovative or anything. I just make a chain and then crochet the strands from there so they're attached. Usually I have to make a full head of hair, and that's a pretty extensive process that I kinda hate doing. But Evelyn's hair is mostly pulled into a hood, so I don't have to make nearly as much. Yay me! I begin with her bangs, occasionally using the doll base to make sure the strands are in the right place and are the correct length to make the shape I want. Then, to style the bangs, I sew them down with the help of a little editing magic. I didn't sew down the strands at the ends of her hair because I had plans for them to be on top of the hood later on. To get to that stage though, I really need to make her top first. I begin with a chain, take a shot every time I say that, and some double crochet. For the uninitiated, double crochet stitches are much more looser and flexible than tight knot single crochet. I always at least start my doll tops with double crochets to give myself leeway and make it fit better on the doll. Also, frequently checking if it fits as you go helps a ton. There's no worse feeling than making a piece of clothing for your doll and putting in all this work just for it not to fit in the end. After I leave some holes for the sleeves, I switch back to single crochets since I'm more confident the top will fit at this point. Also, please pardon the fact I'm wearing a band-aid in the following footage. The skin on my fingertip was getting raw from all the drawing and crochet work I've been doing. It made it a lot harder for me to crochet, but the deadline was closing in on me, so I had to work despite my circumstances. Sorry. Not that I made my deadline anyway, but I'll talk about that later. I made a very basic top and secured it to the body. Now I can finally do her hood. I was going to do her skirt next, but I decided I was going to move the purple lace to her skirt, and I couldn't find the lace, and it was getting late at night, so hood time. The hood was a really big task considering it was the main accessory of the doll. It's framing the face after all, which is the most important part, like I said. A normal hood would be pretty easy to write out a pattern for, but Evelyn has this funky shape around her sides where they flare out, and with that in mind I tried to brainstorm a rough shape that may vaguely resemble it. This is a case of something in a drawing looking better than it does interpreted into real life space. It's a common problem we run into in doll making from a drawing. In the end, I made it work, but the method was a total mess and would probably make anybody above a hobbyist in crochet work shrivel up and die on the inside. But hey, you know what? It worked and that's all that matters. Instead of starting with a magic ring and spiraling out from there like you should with a hood, I built it from the chain up with double crochets, and god damn it, I'm proud of it. It doesn't matter that there's definitely an easier way to do this, but I got it done. Before I attached the hood, I sewed on a hair cap I made off screen, just in case you could see through the gaps of the hood. I loosely sewed the hood to the head, using a bit of pillow stuffing to help form the shape as I wanted. I kept it loose since I was going to add hair later that would help seal things in place, and good thing I did. I realized I didn't add enough stuffing after I already had finished, so I had to feed some more stuffing through the gaps. Using scrap yarn is also good for this process. For the moon design on her chest, I was going to use a purple moon earring, but I quickly realized it was way too small, like comically so. So luckily I did find a little moon bead in my craft supply. I just had to color the back purple with a paint marker since it was transparent. I glued it onto the doll with Fabri-Tac glue. I recorded this part, but I lost the footage like an idiot, so forgive me, I'm a beginner YouTuber. The hair is part of the doll that I'm really happy with the results of. I made the little wispy curls on the side of her head with a vertical chain that I crocheted 5 short strands off of. I made them short so they would have an easier time standing up on their own. I didn't want to use an armature wire. I put down some stitches to style the hair until I'm happy with how it looks. To do the little feeder fins on her hood, I first made an oval-like shape detached from her head. I stuffed the bottom and sewed it shut. I added a little plastic bendy straw to help add support to the base and make them stand up on their own. Then I struggled to force the straw into the hood for 5 minutes. I sewed it down for security. The bendy straw is a bit noticeable if you poke down on that area, but I think the added security is worth the weird tactile effect, so it's okay. The sleeve was done by making a little tube that flared out at the bottom and then shoving the hand through until it eventually gave way. With a simple clap of the hand, the sleeve was put on the other side. Now at this point, I have a sad confession. The vacation I talked about earlier came up on me way too quick for comfort, so sadly I didn't have time to finish Lyra's doll. I did show it to her in the end, so you will see her reaction, but unfortunately I didn't give it to her in person, and I probably won't get the chance to see her for a little while. I'm not too bothered though, because we had a great time. I really wouldn't trade the experience we had for the world. For my birthday, one of our other friends, Stephanie, was kind enough to get me the stunning Sylveon ring, so you will see it in the footage going forward from here. I really appreciate everyone I hung out with, but I'll shut up before I get too corny. Moving to the legs, we got the skirt up next. The skirt was a simple process. I just made a flat chain and increased off of that, but I wanted the skirt to ruffle, so I was very liberal with my use of increases. From here, I sewed a shut into the body. Also, I felt the waist looked kinda barren, so I put on a little waistband with some yarn. Since the base outfit is largely done, I decided now would be a good time to bust out the purple lace. I flipped up Evelyn's skirt, sorry about this girl, and started pinning down and sewing the frills. I used the same yarn I used for her skirt, so it wouldn't show a seam. I tried to add lace on the sleeves too, but it wasn't as visible. Oops. The cape was originally pretty simple, so I tried to spice it up a bit. I made a chain large enough to go down her back and double crocheted down. I kinda added this gradient stripe effect with my yarn to add more visual interest. I occasionally do increases on the sides as well to taper it. I made my cape smaller than I intended it to be because I planned on crocheting around the border. That of course adds bulk, but I kinda ended up hating the cape in the end. You can kinda see in the footage that I was falling apart because I knotted the ends instead of weaving them. I didn't like the colors anyway, so I ended up trying again and getting it right the second time. Also, I decided in both iterations to make the cape a lot shorter since her skirt came out really voluminous. After long last, finally onto the final part of this doll, her little footsies. I've been staring at nothing but these nubs for the entire project now, so I think she could use some footwear. The way I do my doll shoes is kinda wonky, but it works well for me, so I'll try to explain it the best I can. I start by crocheting an oblong flat disc. Then I do a single crochet row in the front loops only of each stitch. I cut down some yarn packaging to help flatten the disc and glue it down with Fabri-Tac. This will act as a barrier for the magnets I use to weigh down the feet. I glue it down and use another magnet on the underside of the shoe to anchor it in place while the Fabri-Tac dries. I love using fabric glue for this because it's a lot more flexible than normal glue. Things like Elmer's or super glue would just crack, so I wouldn't recommend that. After it dries, I continue up the shoe with a different color. After a few rows, I switched to only crocheting on one end of the shoe, so I can make a separate piece that will go on top. I make the separate piece by doing a chain and double crocheting across, kinda like a little blanket. I sew the shoe down in two parts. First the base, and then the top. Sometimes I switched between the two so I could have a better chance of it not falling apart later on. I use my needle to add some extra details on the top like laces, but after the shoe is complete, all I have to do is make another one for the opposite foot with the same process. And then I'm done with the doll. Alright, and here we go. Hello,
Okay.
Lyra.
Hello.
So, I'm sure you know, I've been working on a little something for
Mm-hmm.
you,
Yes,
and you haven't seen it yet.
you're correct.
Last I showed you, it was a naked body.
Yeah, it's very, very unfinished, but I'm excited to see it.
Here you go.
Wow, it looks great.
Think
These are
so?
really cute. I like the waterside pictures, poolside, beachside pictures. These are fun. I really like the way you did the shoes are really cute. The little stars are very nice little detail. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I added the little stars because I wanted to carry out the bead that was on her chest more throughout the design.
Yeah, it matches the moon that I normally have on the sweater, so that's a good addition. I like that a lot. I really love it, actually. It's super cute. The head shape is great. I love the fins on top. Very, very manta ray-like. It's very cute.
Awesome. I'm glad that you like it.
Thank you so much.
Of course, of course. I love you.
Love you too.
I'm so happy with how this doll came out. Genuinely. She's probably one of my best works. Thank you so much for watching. As a beginner in this whole YouTube sphere, I don't really know how things work just yet. I'm sure you noticed that with some of the inconsistencies in audio and lighting in the footage. I know some of the audio is a bit scratchy, but I did my best. I'm hoping to get some better equipment, but if anyone has any suggestions on how I could do it better for now, don't hesitate to give me some critique. I hope you all enjoyed this video and stick around for more. Bye bye now!